In 1977, scientists made a discovery on the ocean floor that would change everything we knew about life forever. In pitch darkness, they found an ecosystem teeming with toxic chemicals. Fact 1. The discovery mentioned in our opening was that of hydrothermal vents. A team of geologists, exploring the Galapagos Rift nearly 1.5 miles beneath the surface, were expecting to find only cold, desolate volcanic rock. Instead, their submersible, the Alvin, stumbled upon ghostly plumes of superheated, mineral-rich water billowing from cracks in the seafloor, like chimneys from a hidden world. These vents, now called black smokers, were surrounded by an impossible oasis of life, thriving in complete darkness and crushing pressure, rewriting the rules for where life could exist. Fact 2. This newfound ecosystem was not powered by sunlight. It was powered by the Earth itself. The process that sustains it is called chemosynthesis. While life on the surface relies on photosynthesis, using the sun's energy to create food, the creatures of the vents rely on a chemical recipe. Specialized bacteria, the foundation of this entire food chain, harness the energy from toxic chemicals like hydrogen sulfide erupting from the vents. They use this chemical energy to create sugars, becoming a source of nourishment for giant tube worms, ghostly white crabs, and strange, pale fish, all living in a world nourished by a chemical fire from within our planet. Fact 3. Much of the deep sea is classified as the abyssal zone, a name derived from the Greek word for bottomless. This realm begins at a depth of around 13,000 feet, or 4,000 meters. Here, sunlight cannot penetrate, and the world exists in a state of perpetual, absolute darkness. The pressure is almost unimaginable, over 400 times greater than at the surface. To picture it, imagine the weight of 50 jumbo jets resting gently on a single postage stamp. And yet, in this cold, dark, high-pressure world, life has found a way not just to survive, but to flourish in the quiet stillness. Fact 4. In the absence of sunlight, the deep sea has created its own. This phenomenon is called bioluminescence, the production of light by a living organism. It is the silent, secret language of the abyss. This living light isn't just for show. It serves a myriad of purposes. Some creatures use it to lure unsuspecting prey, others flash intricate patterns to attract a mate, and some use a sudden burst of light to startle a predator, creating a moment of confusion to make their escape. It is a world filled with tiny, drifting stars and ghostly glowing shapes, a cold and silent fireworks display that never ends. Fact 5. One of the most iconic masters of this living light is the deep-sea anglerfish. She is a creature of immense patience, perfectly adapted to the darkness. From her head dangles a fleshy, flexible rod, at the tip of which is a glowing lure filled with bioluminescent bacteria. She doesn't chase her food, she simply waits, drifting silently in the blackness, waving her tiny, personal lantern back and forth. To smaller fish, this mesmerizing light is an irresistible beacon in the endless dark, a tiny star to be investigated. It is a beautiful and deadly illusion, a testament to the ingenious strategies life has devised in a world without light. Fact 6. To survive the immense weight of the water above them, deep-sea creatures have evolved to be one with the pressure. Many, like jellyfish and squid, have bodies that are gelatinous, composed almost entirely of water. This means the pressure inside their bodies is the same as the pressure outside, so they are not crushed. They have also done away with any gas-filled spaces, like the swim bladders that fish in the upper ocean use for buoyancy. A swim bladder would be instantly compressed and crushed at these depths. Instead, these creatures are soft, pliable, and perfectly in balance with their environment, drifting through the abyss as gently as a thought. Fact 7. The primary source of food for much of the deep sea is a constant, gentle blizzard known as marine snow. This is not frozen water, but a continuous, slow-motion shower of organic detritus drifting down from the sunlit waters far, far above. It is made of tiny flakes of dead plankton, fish scales, fecal matter, and other microscopic leftovers from the bustling world of the upper ocean. For the creatures of the abyss, this is the lifeblood of their world. They are patient diners, waiting for this quiet feast to arrive from the heavens, a gentle and unending sustenance that connects the dark, silent world below with the bright, living world above. Fact 58. One of the most delicate and otherworldly creatures of the Twilight Zone is the Pacific barrel-eye fish. Its most remarkable feature is a completely transparent, fluid-filled dome that covers the top of its head, like the canopy of a cockpit. Within this shield, its two large, tubular eyes are visible, usually pointing straight upwards to scan the water above for the silhouettes of prey. This transparent shield serves a vital purpose, protecting the fish's sensitive eyes from the stinging tentacles of siphonophores, a type of jellyfish from which the barrel eye often steals its food. It hangs almost motionless in the dim light, its beautiful, green, lens-like eyes looking directly up through its own invisible head, a living, silent observatory in the deep. Fact 59. While the deep sea is often called a land of giants, it is also, in its most extreme reaches, a land of dwarfs. In the profound depths of the Hadal Trenches, below 6,000 meters, the scarcity of food is so absolute that a large body becomes a significant disadvantage. Here, the evolutionary pressure reverses, and many species exhibit hadal dwarfism. A smaller body requires far less energy to sustain, a crucial advantage when a meal might be weeks or months away. The creatures of the trenches, from snailfish to crustaceans, are often much smaller than their relatives living on the abyssal plains above. It is a world of extreme efficiency, a quiet testament to life's ability to adapt, not just by growing larger, but by becoming smaller and more humble to survive. Fact 60. There is a small, dark fish in the deep known as the black swallower, and it is a creature of astonishing ambition. This unassuming fish has an enormous, distensible stomach and loosely hinged jaws that allow it to swallow prey that is often twice its length and up to 10 times its own mass. This is a critical adaptation for a life where encounters with food are rare and unpredictable. When a meal presents itself, the swallower must seize the opportunity, no matter how impossibly large it seems. Occasionally, this ambition is fatal. They are sometimes found floating dead on the ocean surface, brought up from the depths by the buoyant gases of their last meal's decomposition, a meal so large it was the last thing they ever did. Fact 61. The deep ocean is the great, slow lung of our planet. The vast quantities of oxygen that support life in the abyss do not originate there. They are carried down from the surface. In the cold polar regions, surface water becomes rich in dissolved oxygen from the atmosphere. As this water gets colder and saltier, it becomes very dense and begins to sink, a process that can take many years. This sinking water then feeds the deep ocean currents, carrying a vital supply of oxygen on a slow, centuries-long journey along the bottom of the world. This deep, planetary breath not only makes life possible in the abyss, but is a crucial part of the global system that keeps our oceans healthy and alive from the surface to the seafloor. Fact 62. The soft mud of the deep seafloor is not a barren wasteland, but a garden of strange and beautiful life, particularly the diverse world of polychaete worms. Some, like the spaghetti worm, bury their bodies in the sediment and cast out dozens of long, pale, noodle-like tentacles across the mud to gather food. Others, like the Christmas tree worm, build tubes on corals and rocks, unfurling two beautiful, brightly colored, spiral plumes to breathe and feed. And in the water column above, the transparent Tomopteris worm swims with paddle-like legs, and when disturbed, can release a shower of brilliant, yellow sparks from its limbs, a brief and beautiful burst of bioluminescent light. They are the quiet, hidden jewels of the seabed. Fact 63. Cruising slowly through the deep, dark water is a ghost from a prime val ocean, the six-gill shark. This is one of the most primitive sharks alive today, its body plan closely resembling that of sharks that lived hundreds of millions of years ago, before the time of the dinosaurs. As its name suggests, it has 6 pairs of gill slits, whereas most modern sharks have only 5. It also has a single dorsal fin located far down its back, another ancient trait. They are slow, almost sluggish creatures, perfectly adapted to a low-energy lifestyle of scavenging and opportunistically hunting fish and squid in the deep. To see one move is to see a calm, ancient mariner, a living fossil patrolling the quiet corridors of a world it has inhabited since long before our time. Fact 64. The brine pools on the deep seafloor are so alien that they have been nicknamed the hot tubs of despair. Because the supersalty brine is much denser than seawater, it creates a distinct surface, and you can see gentle ripples where the two liquids meet. The brine itself is completely devoid of oxygen and is often surrounded by a ghostly, shimmering shoreline made of the shells of mussels that thrive on the chemical-rich boundary. For any unsuspecting crab or fish, to cross this shoreline is to meet a quiet, instant end. They sink into the brine and are perfectly preserved by the toxic, anoxic liquid. To see one of these pools is to see a silent, motionless lake at the bottom of the sea, with the preserved remains of unfortunate travelers resting peacefully within its depths. Fact 65. The light of our world is governed by the sun, a single, brilliant source that brings a cycle of day and night. The light of the deep sea is different. It is an eternal twilight, lit not from above, but from within. Bioluminescence is the constant and defining feature of this world. There is no dawn or dusk, only a continuous, silent conversation of living light. The vast majority of this light is in the blue-green part of the spectrum, as these are the colors that travel farthest through water. To drift through the midnight zone would be like floating through a private galaxy, surrounded by the gentle pulses of jellyfish, the slow drift of glowing plankton, and the sudden, brilliant flashes of squid, a silent, endless cosmos of living stars. Fact 66. The Greenland shark is a creature that experiences time in a way that is almost impossible for us to imagine. Living in the frigid, deep waters of the North Atlantic, it is the longest living vertebrate on Earth, with a lifespan that can exceed 400 and perhaps even 500 years. Its life moves at a glacial pace. It grows only about a centimeter per year, and it does not reach sexual maturity until it is around 150 years old. An individual alive today might have been born before the Industrial Revolution, a silent witness swimming in the dark as centuries of human history unfolded in the bright world far above. It is a living time capsule, an ancient, slow-moving being whose quiet existence spans entire eras. Fact 67. When we picture the bottom of the ocean, we often think of the dramatic features, the jagged mountains, the fiery vents, the deep trenches. But the truth is that the vast majority of our planet's surface, hidden beneath the waves, is a vast, flat, and profoundly quiet landscape of soft mud. This is the abyssal plain, and it is covered in a thick blanket of sediment known as abyssal ooze. This ooze is the final resting place for the remains of countless trillions of microscopic plankton, whose tiny shells and skeletons have been raining down from the surface waters for millions upon millions of years. It is a peaceful, unchanging landscape, a vast, silent desert of soft clay that holds the complete and gentle memory of the ocean's long history. Fact 68. In the Gulf of Mexico, nearly 2 miles deep, scientists have discovered a landscape that seems to defy logic. Vast, flowing fields of asphalt, the same thick, black material used to pave roads. These are asphalt volcanoes, created not by molten rock, but by the slow eruption of heavy, dense crude oil from deep within the Earth's crust. As this tar-like material seeps onto the cold seafloor, it hardens, creating strange, river-like flows and cobbled mounds. And even here, life has found a foothold. Specialized bacteria have learned to break down the complex hydrocarbons in the asphalt, forming the base of a slow-growing chemosynthetic community, a quiet and patient oasis built upon the sticky, black foundation of a hidden oil field. Fact 69. The longest and most extensive mountain range on our planet is not the Andes or the Himalayas. It is almost entirely hidden from our view beneath the ocean. The mid-ocean ridge is a colossal, 40,000-mile-long chain of underwater volcanoes that wraps around the entire globe like the seam on a baseball. This is the great creative engine of our planet's surface. It is the boundary where tectonic plates are slowly pulling apart, allowing magma from the Earth's mantle to rise up, cool, and solidify, constantly forming new oceanic crust. The very floor of the world's oceans is born in this silent, deep, and fiery place, the planet's great, hidden spine. Fact 70. For centuries, sailors have told tales of great sea serpents, enormous, snake-like creatures rising from the depths. The source of many of these legends is likely a real and spectacular animal, the oarfish. It is the longest bony fish in the world, a living, shimmering ribbon that can reach lengths of over 36 feet. It has a silvery, scaleless body and a magnificent, crimson-red dorsal fin that runs its entire length, rising into a beautiful, plume-like crest on its head. These gentle giants live in the twilight zone, and their rare appearances at the surface, usually only when they are sick or dying, have made them a creature of myth, a real-life sea serpent from the quiet world below. Fact 71. The ancient, skeletal forests of deep-sea corals are more than just beautiful habitats. They are perfect, living libraries of the ocean's past. A coral's hard skeleton is made of calcium carbonate, which it builds up slowly over time in distinct layers, much like the rings of a tree. As it grows, the skeleton absorbs trace chemicals from the surrounding seawater. By carefully sampling these layers, scientists can analyze their chemical composition to reconstruct a precise, high-resolution history of the deep ocean's conditions. They can reveal the water's temperature, its nutrient content, and its circulation patterns from hundreds or even thousands of years ago. They are the patient, stony scribes of the deep, quietly recording every subtle change in their timeless world. Fact 72. Among the most common residents of the deep seafloor are the cusk eels. These are not true eels, but are members of a diverse fish family, easily recognized by their long, tapering bodies that end in a pointed tail. Many species are masters of hiding, using their pointed tails to methodically back themselves into the soft sediment or into the burrows of other animals, leaving only their heads exposed to watch for prey. They are quiet and cautious explorers of the seabed, navigating the darkness not by sight, but with a highly developed lateral line system that runs the length of their bodies, allowing them to sense the faintest vibrations and pressure changes in the water around them, a subtle and effective way to feel the world in the dark. Fact 73. The deep ocean is the most extensive habitat on Earth, and its most numerous inhabitants are completely invisible. This is the realm of the marine virusphere. The water of the deep is teeming with viruses, with as many as 10 billion of them in a single liter of seawater. This may sound alarming, but these viruses are a fundamental and vital part of the deep-sea ecosystem. They primarily infect bacteria and other microorganisms. By constantly breaking open these microbial cells, a process called a viral shunt, they release a vast supply of organic matter and nutrients back into the water, making them available for other, larger organisms to consume. It is a vast, invisible, and silent engine of recycling that keeps the entire deep-sea food web running. Fact 74. Drifting through the midwater like a long, fragile string of lights is the siphonophore. At first glance, it might look like a single, bizarre jellyfish, but it is something far more complex, a colonial animal made up of thousands of individual, specialized creatures called zooids, all physically connected and working together as one. Some zooids are responsible for propulsion, pulsing like tiny engines. Others are specialized for feeding, with long, stinging tentacles. Others still are for reproduction. The longest of these, the giant siphonophore, can reach lengths of over 130 feet, longer than a blue whale, making it one of the longest animals on the planet. It is a beautiful, drifting, living community, a perfect and fragile chain of cooperation in the deep. Fact 75. In the dark, being seen can be a death sentence, but for the Atolla jellyfish, being seen is its last, desperate line of defense. When this small, crimson jellyfish is attacked by a predator, it unleashes a spectacular display of bioluminescence, a series of brilliant, pulsating pinwheels of blue light that flash like a strobe. This is not meant to startle the immediate attacker. It is a burglar alarm. The flashing is designed to attract the attention of something even bigger and more dangerous from farther away. The hope is that a larger predator, like a squid or a big fish, will see the commotion and come to investigate, potentially attacking the jellyfish's own assailant. It is a final, clever gamble, a silent scream for help made of light. Fact 76. There appears to be a hard, physical limit to how deep life can go. The immense pressure of the Hadal trenches doesn't just crush, it fundamentally alters the way molecules behave. At pressures approaching 1,100 times that of the surface, the very structure of water can become hostile to the normal function of cell membranes and proteins. Scientists theorize that this creates a pressure limit for vertebrate life, a point beyond which the essential machinery of cells simply cannot operate. The fact that the Mariana snailfish has been found living so close to this theoretical boundary, in the deepest part of the Challenger Deep, is a profound statement. It suggests that life on our planet has been so resourceful that it has pushed its way into every possible physical niche, right up to the very edge of the impossible. Fact 77. There are places in the ocean that are true deserts, defined not by a lack of water, but by a lack of breath. These are oxygen minimum zones, or OMZs, vast swathes of water in the twilight zone where oxygen levels are so low that they are almost completely devoid of animal life. For a submersible pilot descending through the ocean, entering an OMZ is a strange and eerie experience. The constant chatter of biological sonar from fish and crustaceans fades into an unnerving silence. The water, normally filled with a blizzard of marine snow, becomes unnaturally clear and empty. It is a world in stasis, a vast, silent, and breathless expanse that can stretch for hundreds of miles. While these zones are a natural feature, they are expanding due to climate change, their profound quiet spreading through the ocean. Fact 38. The vast expanse of the deep ocean is not one uniform zone, but a series of layers, each descending into greater darkness and pressure. Below the sunlit surface waters lies the twilight zone, or the bathyal zone, from the Greek word for deep. Here, a faint, ghostly blue light still penetrates, but it is not enough for photosynthesis. Below this, starting at around 4,000 meters, is the midnight zone, the true abyss, from the Greek for bottomless. And deeper still, within the immense ocean trenches, lies the Hadal zone, a name fittingly derived from Hades, the Greek underworld. This is the realm of the greatest depths on Earth, a world of unimaginable pressure and profound, eternal quiet, the last and least explored region of our planet. Fact 39. There is a small, cigar-shaped shark that haunts the twilight zone, a creature known as the cookie cutter. It is a parasite of giants, feeding not by killing, but by taking a small, precise toll. Its lips are suctorial, allowing it to latch onto the sides of much larger animals like whales, dolphins, and great white sharks. Once attached, it uses its unique, saw-like band of lower teeth to bite, and then twists its body, scooping out a perfectly circular, cookie-shaped plug of flesh. To remain hidden, its belly is covered in a dense network of bioluminescent organs that glow with a faint green light. This counter-illumination perfectly matches the dim light filtering down from above, making the shark invisible to any creature looking up from below. It is a stealthy, silent biter, a minor inconvenience to the great beings of the sea. Fact 40. In the still, cold darkness of the deep, there exist forests made not of wood, but of glass. These are colonies of glass sponges, creatures whose skeletons are constructed from intricate, lattice-like structures of pure silica. They are incredibly fragile and exquisitely beautiful, resembling living chandeliers or woven baskets. They are filter feeders, patiently sifting microscopic particles from the water, and they are masters of longevity. Some individual specimens have been estimated to be over 10,000 years old, making them one of the longest-lived animals on Earth. One famous species, the Venus flower basket, often serves as a permanent home for a pair of small shrimp who enter when they are young and grow too large to leave, living out their entire lives within the delicate glass house, a natural and beautiful symbol of eternal partnership. Fact 41. In a world without sunlight, landmarks, or any obvious points of reference, how do deep-sea creatures navigate the vast, featureless expanses of the abyss? The answer is a quiet mystery, but scientists believe they use a suite of subtle, invisible cues. Some animals, like sea turtles and sharks, are known to have an internal magnetic sense, allowing them to navigate using the Earth's magnetic field as a built-in compass. Others may navigate by a kind of chemical map, following the faint, unique scent trails of the mineral-rich water from hydrothermal vents, or the smell of a distant whale fall carried on a slow current. In the twilight zone, some may even be able to use the faint, polarized light from the surface as a guide. They are masters of a sensory world we can barely imagine, finding their way through the dark with senses we do not possess. Fact 42. Off the coast of Japan, in the waters of Toyama Bay, there occurs one of the most magical and beautiful light shows in the natural world. It is the annual spawning of the firefly squid. This small squid, only about 3 inches long, is covered in thousands of tiny, light-producing organs called photophores. It has such precise control over these lights that it can flash them in complex, synchronized patterns, likely for communicating with other squid. But the true spectacle occurs each spring, when billions of them gather in the bay to lay their eggs. As they rise to the surface at night, the entire bay is transformed into a breathtaking, pulsating field of ethereal blue light, a living, breathing constellation that mirrors the stars in the sky above. Fact 43. Many creatures of the deep, from shrimp to jellyfish to the vampire squid, are a vibrant red or deep orange color. In the sunlit world, this would make them dangerously conspicuous. But in the deep sea, red is the color of invisibility. The spectrum of sunlight is made of many colors, and as light travels through water, these colors are absorbed at different rates. Red light is the weakest and is completely filtered out within the first few hundred feet of the ocean surface. In the deep, where no red light penetrates, a red-colored animal has no red light to reflect. It therefore appears as a non-reflective, pure black silhouette, making it completely invisible to the eyes of both predators and prey. It is a silent, clever camouflage, using the physics of light to disappear. Fact 44. The sad, gelatinous face of the blobfish that became an internet sensation is a profound misunderstanding of a creature's true nature. That image is of a deep-sea fish, likely a blob sculpin, that has suffered from extreme depressurization after being rapidly dragged up from its home 2 miles beneath the sea. In its natural, high-pressure environment, this fish looks entirely different. It has a more typical fish shape, with a large head, tapering body, and soft, watery flesh that gives it neutral buoyancy, allowing it to float effortlessly just above the seafloor. Far from being a lazy blob, it is a patient and dedicated parent. Females lay thousands of pink eggs in a nest on the seabed and will quietly guard them for many months, protecting them from predators until they hatch. Fact 45. Life has pushed its limits into the deepest, most hostile corners of our planet. The record for the deepest living fish ever discovered belongs to the Mariana snailfish. This small, translucent, tadpole-like fish, completely lacking scales, has been observed swimming at a staggering depth of 8,178 meters, more than 5 miles down, in the Mariana Trench. At this depth, the pressure is equivalent to the weight of an elephant standing on your thumb. The existence of a complex vertebrate at this extreme is a testament to the incredible power of adaptation. Scientists believe this depth is very close to the absolute limit at which a fish can survive, as the immense pressure begins to fundamentally interfere with the function of essential proteins. The Mariana snailfish is the quiet, unassuming king of the deepest abyss. Fact 46. The seafloor is the most volcanically active place on Earth, with the vast majority of our planet's volcanoes located along the mid-ocean ridges. But a submarine eruption sounds nothing like one on land. The immense pressure of the overlying water, hundreds or thousands of times greater than atmospheric pressure, completely suppresses the explosive release of gas. Instead of a fiery spectacle, the sound of a deep-sea eruption is a deep, powerful rumble as magma moves through the Earth's crust. This is accompanied by the strange, crackling sound of intensely hot lava making contact with the near-freezing seawater and instantly shattering into glassy fragments, and the gentle hiss of volcanic gases dissolving directly into the water. It is the constant, quiet sound of creation, of new Earth being born in the silent darkness. Fact 47. In the vibrant, sunlit world, death is often a rapid and chaotic affair, with scavengers quickly consuming any remains. In the deep sea, the final chapter of life is a much quieter and more drawn-out process. Due to the profound cold, which dramatically slows down all biological processes, and the scarcity of large scavengers, decomposition on the abyssal plane happens in extreme slow motion. A dead fish or squid may come to rest on the soft sediment and remain there for many months or even years, slowly and gently being consumed by microbial mats and small, patient invertebrates. It is a slow, peaceful recycling of precious nutrients, a world where nothing is ever wasted, and where even the process of decay moves at a different, more deliberate and gentle pace. Fact 48. Because only the blue and violet wavelengths of light can penetrate into the deep ocean, the ability to perceive other colors becomes a wasted sense. Evolution is efficient, and so most deep-sea creatures have adapted to see the world in monochrome. Their eyes are packed with a single type of light-sensitive pigment, tuned to be maximally receptive to the specific shade of blue light that dominates their environment. The rich and varied palette of the surface world, the reds, yellows, and greens, simply does not exist for them. Their reality is painted in a subtle and beautiful spectrum of shadow and faint luminescence, a world of infinite shades of ghostly blue and absolute black, where light is not a color, but a presence. Fact 49. On the sheer rock faces of black smoker hydrothermal vents, there lives a creature that thrives in conditions that would be instantly lethal to almost any other animal. The Pompeii worm builds its thin, papery tube homes on the sides of these chimneys, placing it in one of the most extreme temperature gradients on Earth. The tail end of the worm, inside its tube, can be resting in water as hot as 80 degrees Celsius, or 176 degrees Fahrenheit, while its head, which emerges to feed, is in the much cooler ambient water of around 22 degrees. Its secret to survival is a unique symbiotic relationship. The worm's back is covered in a thick, fleece-like coat of bacteria, which is thought to act as a form of biological insulation, a living heat shield that protects the worm from being cooked alive. Fact 50. Some scientists believe that the story of life on Earth may have begun in the deep sea. The hydrothermal vent hypothesis proposes that these strange, chemical-rich environments provided the perfect cradle for life's origin. In the early days of our planet, the surface was a harsh and violent place, bombarded by ultraviolet radiation. The deep sea vents, however, would have been a protected sanctuary. They provided a continuous source of chemical energy, a warm, mineral-rich soup of organic molecules, and, crucially, the porous rock of the vent chimneys contained countless tiny, interconnected chambers. These chambers could have acted as the first natural cells, concentrating the chemicals and allowing the complex reactions that led to the first self-replicating molecules to take place, a quiet, warm, chemical womb at the bottom of the ancient sea. Fact 51. The deep-sea dragonfish is a small but formidable predator, and it is a master of light. Like many deep-sea creatures, it has a bioluminescent lure hanging from a barbel on its chin, which it uses to attract smaller fish. But it also possesses a far more sophisticated and secret weapon. Just behind its eye, it has a special organ called a photophore that can produce a beam of red light. As we've learned, most deep-sea creatures cannot see red light, so this gives the dragonfish an incredible advantage. It can use this beam like a sniper's infrared scope, illuminating its unsuspecting prey to get a perfect look before it strikes, all while remaining completely invisible to its victim and any other predators in the area. It is a quiet hunter, armed with a secret light in a world of darkness. Fact 52. The water of the deep ocean is not a still and stagnant pool. It is in a state of constant, majestic, and imperceptibly slow motion. This movement is part of the global ocean conveyor belt, a planet-spanning current driven by temperature and salinity. The process begins in the frigid polar regions, where cold, salty water becomes very dense and sinks to the ocean floor. This deep water then begins a slow journey, flowing along the bottom of the world's oceans towards the equator. Over centuries, this water will gradually warm, mix, and rise back to the surface in the Indian and Pacific Oceans, eventually returning to the poles to begin the cycle anew. A single drop of water on this journey can take 1,000 years to complete the circuit. It is the slow, silent circulatory system of our planet. Fact 53. Creeping slowly across the soft, muddy plains of the abyss are strange creatures known as sea pigs. These are not mammals, but a peculiar type of sea cucumber, with plump, pinkish, and semi-translucent bodies. They get their name from their soft, rounded appearance and their use of several pairs of large, tube-like legs, which they inflate and deflate with water to walk methodically across the seafloor. They are the gentle gardeners of the deep, often found in large herds, sometimes numbering in the hundreds. They feed by using a ring of tentacles around their mouths to scoop up the nutrient-rich top layer of mud, consuming the decaying organic matter that has drifted down from above. They are a quiet, strange, and peaceful part of the abyssal landscape. Fact 54. One of the most dominant and surprising sounds in the ocean is not the call of a whale, but the constant, crackling sizzle produced by colonies of snapping shrimp. These small crustaceans possess one claw that is much larger than the other, which they can cock open like the hammer of a gun. When they snap it shut, it moves so rapidly that it creates a tiny, high-pressure bubble in the water. The collapse of this cavitation bubble produces a surprisingly loud popping sound and a flash of light. When thousands or millions of these shrimp, often living in reefs or sponge colonies, are all snapping at once, it creates a continuous, static-like crackle, similar to the sound of frying bacon, that is a major component of the ocean's ambient noise, a chorus of tiny, underwater fireworks. Fact 55. Living on the bones of dead whales at the bottom of the ocean are some of the strangest worms on Earth, nicknamed zombie worms. These creatures, of the genus Osedax, have no mouths, no stomachs, and no intestines. The visible part of the worm is a colorful, feathery plume that acts as a gill, absorbing oxygen from the water. But below this, the worm sends a green, root-like structure deep into the whale's bone. These roots are filled with symbiotic bacteria that dissolve the fats and oils locked within the bone, which the worm then absorbs as food. They are the patient, silent recyclers of the dead, capable of colonizing a skeleton and feeding on it for decades, ensuring that even the very bones of the great whales are returned to the cycle of life. Fact 56. While the giant squid is famous for its incredible length, its cousin, the colossal squid, holds the title for the largest invertebrate on Earth by sheer mass. It is a much heavier, more robust, and more powerful animal, a true heavyweight champion of the abyss. It lives in the frigid waters surrounding Antarctica, and its body is wider and its fins are larger than those of a giant squid. Its most formidable feature is its weaponry. Its arms and 2 long tentacles are armed not only with suckers, but with an array of sharp, swiveling, and sometimes 3-pronged hooks, which it uses to latch onto and incapacitate its prey. It is believed to be a slow, low-energy ambush predator, a silent giant that floats and waits in the Antarctic deep for an unlucky fish or whale to pass by. Fact 57. The soft, muddy floor of the deep ocean is a perfect and peaceful library, holding the complete, unabridged history of our planet's climate. For millions of years, the tiny, intricate shells of microscopic organisms called foraminifera have been gently raining down upon the seafloor after they die. This constant, slow accumulation has built up layers of sediment thousands of feet thick. By drilling deep cores into this sediment, scientists can pull up a perfectly preserved timeline of the past. The chemical composition of these tiny, ancient shells directly reflects the temperature and chemistry of the ocean water in which they lived. By analyzing these layers, we can read the planet's history, page by page, revealing past ice ages, warm periods, and dramatic shifts in the Earth's climate with astonishing precision. It is the quiet, humble memory of the world. Fact 78. The black sea devil is a type of anglerfish and a true master of camouflage in a world without shadows. Its skin is one of the blackest materials known in nature, capable of absorbing over 99.9% of any light that hits it. This ultra-black skin is not just a pigment, but a specialized structure of microscopic particles that scatters and traps any faint glimmer of bioluminescence, making the fish a perfect void, a patch of pure nothingness in the dark. In this world of profound blackness, the male of the species is tiny and ill-equipped to hunt. His sole purpose is to find a female. When he does, he bites into her side, and his body fuses with hers, their circulatory systems merging. He lives the rest of his life as a permanent, parasitic partner, a quiet and ultimate solution to the problem of finding a mate in the endless, empty dark. Fact 79. On the edges of the searingly hot hydrothermal vents in the Indian Ocean, there lives a snail that has evolved its own suit of armor. The scalefoot snail is the only known animal on Earth to incorporate iron into its skeleton. Its shell is a unique, 3-layered structure, with an outer layer made of iron sulfides, giving it a dark, metallic sheen. And its foot, the part of its body that it moves on, is not soft like a normal snail's, but is covered in hard, overlapping mineralized scales, also reinforced with iron. This incredible, natural armor is thought to protect the snail from the crushing pressure, the toxic, acidic water of the vents, and the claws of predatory crabs. It is the quiet, armored knight of the volcanic deep. Fact 80. The constant, gentle rain of marine snow is more than just a source of food for the deep. It is a slow-motion telegraph system, a network of chemical whispers from the world above. The composition of the sinking particles carries information. A sudden increase in a certain type of organic matter might signal the presence of a massive plankton bloom hundreds of meters above. The scent of specific lipids in the water could alert the patient scavengers of the abyss that a large fish or whale has died far overhead, and that a great feast may soon be on its way down. It is a slow, subtle transfer of information, connecting the different layers of the ocean and allowing the creatures of the deep to read the changing seasons of a sunlit world they will never see. Fact 81. Not all sponges in the deep are passive filter feeders. Some are silent, patient hunters. The ping-pong tree sponge is a perfect example. It has a long central stalk that anchors it to the seafloor, from which extend several thin branches. Each branch ends in a small, fuzzy sphere covered in microscopic, hook-like spicules. It looks like a strange, beautiful candelabra from an alien world. The sponge simply waits, sometimes for days or weeks, for a tiny crustacean, like a copepod, to drift by and bump into one of its sticky spheres. The animal becomes instantly ensnared by the hooks, and the sponge cells then slowly migrate to envelop and digest the trapped prey right where it hangs. It is a beautiful and deadly chandelier, a passive trapper in the slow currents of the deep. Fact 82. The water at the bottom of the ocean is not just cold, it is ancient. The global ocean conveyor belt moves at such a slow pace that the water in the deepest parts of the ocean has been out of contact with the atmosphere for an incredibly long time. The oldest water on our planet is found in the deep North Pacific, and it is estimated to have last been at the surface over 1,500 years ago. This means that this water began its long, slow journey to the bottom in the North Atlantic during the time of the Roman Empire. It is a liquid time capsule, still carrying the chemical signature of a world that no longer exists, a quiet, flowing reminder of the planet's immense and patient cycles. Fact 83. The frilled shark is another of the deep sea's living fossils, a creature whose design has been so successful that it has barely changed in at least 80 million years. It has a long, slender, eel-like body and is easily identified by its 6 pairs of gills, each edged with a distinctive, frilly red membrane. Its mouth is filled with over 300 sharp, 3-pronged, needle-like teeth, all pointing backwards, perfect for snagging the soft bodies of squid and fish and preventing their escape. It is rarely seen by humans, but it is believed to hunt in a unique way, bending its body and lunging forward suddenly like a snake to strike its prey. It is a true serpent of the deep, a quiet ghost from a primeval ocean. Fact 84. The sea stars, or starfish, of the deep are slow, methodical, and relentless predators. Many of them feed on bivalves like clams and mussels, and they have developed a unique and patient way of dining. A sea star will crawl over a clam and use the powerful suckers on its arms to slowly, persistently pull the 2 halves of the shell apart, even a tiny fraction of a millimeter. Once a small gap is created, the sea star does something remarkable. It extends its own stomach out through its mouth, pushing the soft, digestive tissue into the gap in the shell. It then digests the clam inside its own shell, absorbing the liquefied nutrients before retracting its stomach back into its body. It is a quiet, strange, and incredibly effective way to eat. Fact 85. The water erupting from hydrothermal vents is rich in a chemical called hydrogen sulfide, which gives it the distinct smell of rotten eggs. To us, this is a foul and toxic odor, but to the creatures that have made the vents their home, this is the very scent of life. Their entire existence depends on the chemosynthetic bacteria that feed on this chemical. Animals like vent shrimp and crabs have evolved highly specialized sensory organs that can detect the precise chemical gradients in the water. They use this smell to navigate the treacherous environment, staying within the life-giving plumes of vent fluid while avoiding the lethally hot water at the vent's opening. They are breathing in the very essence of their world's creation. Fact 86. The deep ocean floor can act as a strange and wonderful mirror for sound. The boundary between the bottom layer of water and the hard, dense basalt of the oceanic crust is a highly reflective surface for sound waves. Low-frequency sounds, such as the deep calls of fin whales, can travel down to the seafloor, bounce off it, and be reflected back up towards the surface. This creates complex and long-lasting echoes and reverberations, allowing sounds to be heard long after they were made. For animals that use sound to navigate, this can turn the seafloor into a useful acoustic landmark, a way of mapping their world through ghostly echoes from the bottom of the sea. Fact 87. The humble sea cucumber, a soft, slow-moving cylinder that inches its way across the seabed, possesses one of the most bizarre and effective defense mechanisms in the animal kingdom. When threatened by a predator like a crab or a fish, some species of sea cucumber can perform an act of radical self-evisceration. They violently contract their body walls and expel a portion of their own internal organs out of their rear end. These organs, a mass of sticky, often toxic tubules, rapidly expand in the water, entangling and disabling the attacker. This act of ultimate sacrifice is not fatal for the sea cucumber. It can then crawl away and, over the next few weeks, will quietly and patiently regenerate all of its missing organs. Fact 28. Scattered across the vast, muddy plains of the abyss, in depths of over 3 miles, lie one of Earth's most peculiar and slow-growing treasures, polymetallic nodules. These are dark, lumpy concretions, ranging in size from a small pebble to a large potato, which litter the seafloor by the trillions. They form through an incredibly patient chemical process, precipitating minerals like manganese and iron out of the seawater onto a small core, like a shell fragment or a shark's tooth. They grow at a rate that is almost impossible to comprehend, adding just a few millimeters of thickness every million years. A single nodule resting quietly in your hand may have begun its formation when our earliest human ancestors first walked the Earth. They are a silent, patient harvest of the deep, the planet's own slow-motion geological pearls. Fact 29. One of the most efficient and unusual hunters of the midnight zone is the gulper eel, sometimes called the pelican eel. It is less a creature and more a living, swimming mouth. Its most defining characteristic is a pair of enormous, loosely hinged jaws that allow its mouth to open wide enough to swallow prey much larger than the eel itself. The rest of its body is little more than a long, whip-like tail, which sometimes has a glowing pink or red photophore at its tip, thought to act as a lure. This creature doesn't need strength or speed. It simply drifts through the darkness like a floating net. When it senses a fish or crustacean, its mouth expands into a vast scoop, engulfing its meal along with a large volume of water, which it then slowly expels. It is a perfect adaptation for a world where any single meal, no matter the size, is an opportunity that cannot be missed. Fact 30. The deep ocean plays a vital role in regulating our planet's climate through a process known as the biological pump. It is the ocean's great, slow heartbeat, a constant and gentle transport of carbon from the atmosphere to the abyss. The process begins in the sunlit surface waters, where microscopic phytoplankton absorb carbon dioxide through photosynthesis. These tiny plants are then eaten by small animals, which are in turn eaten by larger ones. When these organisms die or produce waste, the carbon-rich material clumps together and sinks as marine snow. Much of this material is consumed on its way down, but a significant portion reaches the deep seafloor, where the carbon is sequestered and can remain locked away from the atmosphere for hundreds or even thousands of years. This quiet, continuous process is a critical part of the Earth's carbon cycle, a gentle biological rain that nourishes the deep and helps maintain the stability of our world. Fact 31. The hagfish is a creature of the deep that has remained virtually unchanged for over 300 million years, a true survivor from a primeval world. These eel-like, jawless fish are famous for one thing: slime. As a defense mechanism, the hagfish is unmatched. When threatened, glands along its body can excrete a protein that, upon contact with seawater, instantly expands into a vast quantity of sticky, fibrous slime. A single hagfish can turn a bucket of water into a thick, inescapable gel in mere seconds, clogging the gills of any would-be predator and allowing the hagfish to make a slippery escape. To clean itself, it can tie its own body into a knot, starting at the tail, and then pass the knot forward, scraping off the slime as it goes. It is a quiet, ancient master of a strange and effective defense. Fact 32. Chemosynthesis, the art of making life from chemicals, is not confined to vents and seeps. Life in the deep is resourceful and has found a way to harness chemical energy wherever it appears. When a large, waterlogged tree sinks from a river to the deep ocean floor, it becomes a woodfall. Specialized bacteria begin to break down the tough cellulose in the wood, a process that produces sulfides. These sulfides then support a unique chemosynthetic community, including limpets, snails, and a peculiar creature known as the bone-eating snot flower, or Ozdax worm, which bores into the wood to feed. These woodfalls become small, temporary islands of life in the vast desert of the seafloor, proving that even in the most resource-poor environment, life will find a way to create a quiet and patient oasis. Fact 33. Drifting silently through the twilight zone is one of the most ethereal and delicate creatures of the deep, the telescope octopus. This small, gelatinous octopus is almost completely transparent, making it a nearly invisible ghost in the water column. Its body is so clear that you can see its internal organs. Its most remarkable feature is its eyes. Unlike a normal octopus, its two eyes are perched on top of long, mobile stalks and can rotate, giving the creature a wide field of binocular vision to spot the silhouettes of prey and predators in the dim, downwelling light. It is often observed hanging motionless in the water, with its 8 arms spread out evenly like a parachute, a posture that helps it remain stable and inconspicuous. It is a living piece of crystal, a quiet, watchful phantom of the deep. Fact 34. The deep waters of the polar regions have a soundscape unlike anywhere else on Earth, a symphony composed by ice. The sounds generated by massive sea ice and colossal icebergs can travel for hundreds of miles through the ocean's deep sound channels. There is the deep, mournful groaning of glacier as they grind against the seafloor, the high-pitched singing and cracking of pack ice rubbing together under pressure, and the sudden, explosive boom of an iceberg calving, as a piece the size of a building crashes into the sea. This creates a constantly changing acoustic environment, a dramatic and beautiful cacophony that is the backdrop for the lives of animals like the narwhal and beluga, who navigate and communicate through this ever-shifting world of sound. It is the cold, resonant music of the frozen world. Fact 35. Patience is a virtue mastered by the inhabitants of the deep, and none more so than the tripod fish. This remarkable fish spends most of its life resting motionlessly on the soft mud of the abyssal seafloor, propped up on 3 incredibly long, stilt-like extensions of its fins, 2 from its pelvic fins and 1 from its tail. Standing perfectly still, sometimes for hours on end, it orients itself to face into the gentle current. It is nearly blind, so it hunts by touch. It holds its 2 long pectoral fins out in front of its body like delicate, sensitive antennae, feeling for the faint vibrations of small shrimp and crustaceans drifting by. When it detects a meal within reach, it snatches it from the water with a quick flick of its mouth. It is the patient sentinel of the abyss, a living statue waiting quietly for the sea to bring it a gift. Fact 36. There exists within the ocean a special layer known as the SOFAR channel, which stands for sound fixing and ranging. It is a horizontal band of water, typically found at a depth of around 1,000 meters, that acts as a remarkably efficient waveguide for sound. At this depth, the combination of temperature and pressure causes the speed of sound to be at its absolute minimum. Any sound wave that enters this channel from above or below is refracted back towards the center, essentially trapping the sound and allowing it to travel for immense distances with very little loss of energy. This is the ocean's great whispering gallery. It is the channel that allows the low-frequency songs of whales to be heard by other whales across entire oceans. And it is the same channel used by militaries to listen for submarines from thousands of miles away, a natural conduit for the most secret sounds of the sea. Fact 37. While the deep sea is home to many strange and rare creatures, its most common and successful inhabitants are often the grenadiers, also known as rat-tail fish. This diverse family of fish is found in every ocean and is one of the most abundant vertebrate groups in the abyssal zone. They are easily recognized by their distinct shape, a large head and eyes, a robust body that quickly tapers into a very long, thin, rat-like tail. They are the tireless foragers of the abyssal plains, swimming slowly just above the seabed, using a sensitive, whisker-like barbel on their chins to probe the soft mud. They search for small worms, crustaceans, and other invertebrates buried in the sediment. Their sheer numbers make them a cornerstone of the deep-sea food web, the quiet, ever-present gardeners of the deep, constantly and gently turning over the silty floor of the world. Fact 18. The deepest part of our world is not a mountain peak, but a trench in the sea floor. The Mariana Trench, located in the western Pacific, is the deepest known point in any ocean, a crescent-shaped scar plunging down to a depth of nearly 11,000 meters, or almost 7 miles. At its very bottom lies a small valley known as the Challenger Deep. If you were to place Mount Everest into this trench, its summit would still be submerged by more than a mile of water. The pressure here is over 1,000 times that at the surface, a weight so immense it can alter the very chemistry of water. Only a handful of missions have ever reached this point of profound isolation, a place of absolute darkness and perfect, undisturbed silence, the final, quiet frontier on our own planet. Fact 19. In the crushing pressure of the abyssal plains, a hard, rigid skeleton would be a fatal liability. This is why many deep-sea creatures, like the famous blobfish or the ethereal snailfish, are creatures of profound softness. They have minimal skeletons, often made of flexible cartilage rather than hard bone, and their bodies are composed of a gelatinous, watery flesh whose density is only slightly greater than that of the water around them. Their very structure is supported by the immense pressure they live in. This is why the blobfish, when brought to the surface, collapses into a famously shapeless, sad-looking puddle. It is not its true form. In its home, a mile deep, the pressure gives it shape and form, holding it together in the gentle, crushing embrace of the sea. Fact 20. Not all inhabitants of the deep are fearsome or strange. Some are creatures of a quiet and gentle beauty. The Dumbo octopus, named for the 2 large, ear-like fins that sit atop its head, is one such resident. It lives at staggering depths, sometimes over 4 miles down. Unlike other octopuses that use jet propulsion to move, the Dumbo octopus gracefully flaps its 2 large fins, allowing it to hover and drift through the water with the serene, weightless quality of a ghost in a dream. It uses its webbed arms to steer gently, or to open like an umbrella over small crustaceans on the sea floor. It is a calm and peaceful animal, a silent, beautiful dancer in a world of profound darkness. Fact 21. Scattered across the vast, flat plains of the deep ocean floor are thousands of underwater mountains known as seamounts. These are ancient volcanoes that rise from the seabed but never break the ocean's surface. Far from being barren rock, these seamounts are bustling, hidden islands of life. Their steep, rocky slopes deflect deep ocean currents, forcing nutrient-rich water from the abyss to flow upwards. This upwelling of nutrients fuels vibrant, thriving ecosystems. They become home to dense, fragile forests of deep-water corals and glass sponges, some of which are centuries old. These intricate structures, in turn, provide shelter and a habitat for a staggering diversity of fish, crabs, and starfish, transforming these lonely mountains into secret, flourishing gardens in the dark. Fact 22. For decades, marine biologists have been haunted by a signal from a ghost. It is the sound of a single, unknown whale, calling out into the vastness of the Pacific Ocean. Nicknamed the 52 Hz whale, its song is at a unique frequency that no other known whale species uses. Blue whales call at a much lower 10 to 39 Hz, and fin whales at 20 Hz. Because its call is so different, scientists believe that other whales cannot understand it, and that this individual has spent its entire life swimming in solitude, its calls echoing through the deep, forever unanswered. It is a story of profound and gentle melancholy, a single, lonely voice singing its own unique song into the quiet, listening darkness of the sea. Fact 23. There is a shark that lives in the deep sea that looks like a creature from another time. The goblin shark is often called a living fossil, the last remaining representative of a family of sharks 125 million years old. Its most startling features are a long, flat, blade-like snout and a set of truly remarkable jaws. When prey, like a fish or squid, swims nearby, the goblin shark's jaws, which are normally retracted, can catapult forward at incredible speed, a mechanism known as slingshot feeding. It detects its prey not with its small eyes, but with a collection of electroreceptors in its snout that can sense the faint electrical fields of living creatures. It is a strange and wonderful relic from a bygone age, a quiet hunter that has survived unchanged in the stable darkness of the deep for eons. Fact 24. On the floor of the deep ocean, there are lakes. These are not filled with water, but with brine, a super salty liquid that is much denser than the surrounding seawater. These brine pools, as they are called, do not mix with the ocean, and form still, eerie lakes with a distinct surface and even a shoreline. For most deep-sea animals, these pools are a deadly trap. Any fish or crab that accidentally swims or crawls into the anoxic, hypersaline water is instantly pickled and preserved. Yet, the edges of these silent, deadly lakes are often teeming with life. The brine is rich in methane, which provides a feast for chemosynthetic bacteria, supporting vast beds of mussels that can live for hundreds of years, thriving on the very edge of a toxic, motionless sea. Fact 25. The word coral often brings to mind sun-drenched tropical reefs, but the deep sea is home to its own breathtaking coral gardens. Unlike their shallow water relatives, these corals do not rely on symbiotic algae for food, and therefore have no need of sunlight. Instead, they are filter feeders, extending their delicate polyps into the gentle currents to pluck tiny particles of marine snow and microscopic organisms from the water. Because both food and energy are scarce in the deep, they are incredibly slow-growing, with some colonies expanding just a few millimeters per year. This slow pace means that many deep-sea coral reefs are ancient, with some individual colonies having lived for over 4,000 years, making them among the oldest living organisms on Earth. They are the patient, silent architects of the dark. Fact 26. The fangtooth fish is a small creature, rarely growing longer than 6 inches, but it possesses the largest teeth of any fish in the ocean relative to its body size. Its menacing, needle-like fangs are so long that the fish cannot close its mouth in the normal way. To avoid impaling its own brain, the fangtooth has evolved 2 special sockets on either side of its forebrain, into which the 2 largest lower fangs slide when its jaw is shut. In the darkness of the deep, where a meal is a rare and precious opportunity, this dental adaptation is not for aggression, but for efficiency. The teeth form an inescapable cage, ensuring that any prey the fangtooth manages to find in the dark has absolutely no chance of escape. It is a perfect, clever solution to the problem of hunting in a world of scarcity. Fact 27. If you could listen with ears sensitive enough, you would hear that our planet has a voice. Scientists using seismometers placed on the quiet, stable floor of the deep ocean have detected a constant, ultra-low frequency vibration, a permanent hum that emanates not from a specific place, but from the entire solid Earth. The sound is thousands of times lower than the range of human hearing, a planetary bass note that never stops. While its exact cause is still debated, the leading theory is that it is the result of the continuous, gentle collision of massive ocean waves with the continental shelves all around the world. This constant sloshing creates a subtle, rhythmic pressure on the seafloor, which in turn causes the whole planet to resonate with a silent, fundamental song, the quiet breathing of a living world. Fact 98. The deep sea is a world where time itself seems to slow to a quiet, geological pace. It is a realm of profound patience. The creatures that live here, their metabolism slowed by the immense cold and pressure, can live for centuries, even millennia, becoming living monuments to the passage of time. The coral reefs they build are older than the Great Pyramids, their growth measured in millimeters per century. The polymetallic nodules that litter the plains began their formation before our species even existed. It is a world that does not measure its existence in days or years, but in the slow, silent breath of geology, a living memory of an older, quieter, and more patient Earth. Fact 99. Far from being a remote and separate world, the deep sea is the quiet, beating heart of our planet, intimately connected to the sunlit world we know. Its slow, deep currents, part of the great ocean conveyor belt, circulate heat around the globe, shaping our weather and stabilizing our climate. The constant, gentle rain of marine snow, the biological pump, carries carbon from our atmosphere into the abyss, storing it for thousands of years. The nutrients that are recycled in its depths eventually well up to the surface, feeding the plankton that produce much of the very oxygen we breathe. The deep is not another world. It is the silent, hidden engine of our own. Fact 100. In an age where humanity has sent probes to the farthest reaches of the solar system, the greatest frontier of exploration is not in the stars, but in the depths of our own world. We have more detailed maps of the surface of Mars and the Moon than we do of our own planet's seafloor. It is estimated that over 80% of our ocean remains unmapped, unobserved, and unexplored. Below the waves lies a universe of undiscovered species, unknown ecosystems, and geological wonders we have yet to even imagine. The deep sea remains a place of profound and beautiful mystery, a final, quiet testament to how much we still have to learn about the incredible, living world we call home. Fact 88. The deep seafloor is the final, quiet museum of the world above. Over the centuries, everything that is lost to the sea eventually makes its way down. Sunken ships, from ancient Roman galleys to the great ocean liners of the 20th century, come to rest in the dark, their hulls becoming artificial reefs for deep-sea corals and anemones. The bones of great whales litter the plains, becoming islands of life for decades. Even the sky leaves its mark. A fine layer of ash from a massive volcanic eruption on land will slowly settle on the seabed, creating a distinct, pale line in the sediment that geologists can use to date the layers of oceanic history. The deep is where every story from the surface eventually comes to a peaceful, silent end. Fact 89. In 2005, scientists discovered a creature so strange it demanded a new family of animal to be created. Living near hydrothermal vents in the South Pacific, the Yeti crab is a pale, ghostly white crustacean with a remarkable feature. Its large claws are covered in long, silky, hair-like bristles. These are not for warmth or show. They are gardens. The crab spends its life waving its arms back and forth in the mineral-rich vent fluid, carefully cultivating dense mats of chemosynthetic bacteria on its own limbs. When it is hungry, it uses comb-like mouthparts to scrape off its own homegrown food. It is a patient and gentle farmer, quietly tending to its own personal food source in the volcanic fields of the deep. Fact 90. The silent, dark pressure of the deep sea is the birthplace of the energy that fuels our bright, modern world. The process is one of slow, geological alchemy that unfolds over millions of years. It begins with the gentle rain of dead plankton and algae from the sunlit surface. As this organic matter settles on the seafloor, it can become buried under thick layers of sediment. Sealed off from oxygen and subjected to the immense pressure of the overlying rock and the gentle heat from the Earth's core, this ancient life is slowly cooked and transformed. Over eons, it becomes the kerogen, crude oil, and natural gas that we now extract. It is a profound inheritance, the concentrated energy of ancient sunlight, buried and preserved in the quiet darkness. Fact 91. For years, divers off the coast of Japan would find strange, intricate, and perfectly geometric circles carved into the sandy seafloor, like underwater crop circles. Their origin was a complete mystery until it was discovered to be the work of a tiny artist, a species of pufferfish no bigger than the palm of a hand. The small male fish works tirelessly, 24 hours a day for a full week, flapping his fins to sculpt an elaborate, 2-meter-wide circular nest in the sand. He carves intricate ridges and valleys, which are designed to channel fine sand towards the center, creating a soft, protected basin. He even decorates it with shells. This beautiful, ephemeral work of art is all for a single purpose: to attract a female who will lay her eggs in the very center if she deems his creation worthy. Fact 92. In 1938, the scientific world was stunned by the discovery of a living coelacanth, a fish that was thought to have gone extinct with the dinosaurs 66 million years ago. This ultimate living fossil is a creature that seems to have swum directly out of the pages of prehistory. It has a unique set of fleshy, lobe-like fins that move in an alternating pattern, almost like the legs of a land animal trotting. They are quiet, nocturnal hunters, spending their days resting in the deep, dark volcanic caves of the Twilight Zone, and emerging at night to slowly and stealthily prey on fish and squid. To see one is to get a glimpse of a world that existed long before us, a prehistoric ghost that still haunts the quiet darkness of our seas. Fact 93. The boundary between the sea and the sky is a place of constant conversation, and sound is its language. During a heavy downpour, the collective impact of millions of individual raindrops striking the ocean's surface creates a distinctive and surprisingly loud, high-frequency noise. This sound of rain can travel deep into the ocean, sometimes penetrating hundreds of meters down into the Twilight Zone. For the creatures that live in this realm of perpetual dim light, the sudden arrival of this sound would be an unmistakable announcement, a clear acoustic signal that a great storm is raging in the world far, far above. It is the sky whispering to the deep, the sound of two worlds touching. Fact 94. The classic image of an anglerfish with a single, simple glowing bulb at the end of its lure is only the beginning of the story. Evolution in the deep has produced a spectacular and creative diversity of these living lights. Different species of anglerfish have evolved lures of almost every imaginable shape. Some are long and worm-like, wriggling to attract fish. Some are covered in multiple, complex branches that mimic the shape of a small crustacean. Some have intricate patterns of flashing lights, while others have evolved lures that are located inside their own mouths, a final, deadly surprise for any creature that ventures too close. Each lure is a silent, beautiful, and unique invitation into the darkness. Fact 95. In the ultimate darkness of the Hadal Trenches, the very concept of sight has been abandoned. The absence of light is so total and has been the unchanging reality for so long that many species have completely lost their eyes through evolution. Many fish, crustaceans, and worms in this zone are pale, ghostly white or translucent, having also lost all pigmentation, which serves no purpose in a world without light. They navigate their entire existence in a world of pure feeling, using long, delicate antennae, sensitive barbels, and a heightened sense of pressure and chemical cues to find food, mates, and their way through the crushing blackness. They are a testament to the efficiency of life, which quietly discards that which is no longer needed. Fact 96. There are rivers on the bottom of the ocean, and they are far more powerful than any river on land. These are not rivers of water, but turbidity currents, colossal underwater avalanches of mud, sand, and water. Triggered by an earthquake or a storm on the continental shelf, a mass of sediment can become unstable and begin to rush down the continental slope. Because this slurry is much denser than the surrounding clear water, it flows as a distinct and powerful river, reaching speeds of over 70 miles per hour. These silent, violent rivers of mud are the greatest erosional force on the planet, carving out vast underwater canyons that can dwarf the Grand Canyon in both size and scale. Fact 97. The deep sea, a world so hostile to human life, may hold the key to our future health. Because the environment is so extreme and life is so competitive, many deep-sea organisms, particularly slow-moving and stationary ones like sponges and corals, have evolved to produce an arsenal of unique and potent chemical compounds for defense, communication, and predation. Scientists are now exploring this vast, untapped biochemical frontier. They have discovered new molecules that have shown incredible promise as powerful antibiotics capable of fighting resistant bacteria, as novel anti-inflammatory agents, and even as compounds that can target and destroy cancer cells. The silent chemical conversations of the deep may provide the quiet answers to some of our greatest medical challenges. Fact 8. In the twilight zone of the ocean, a region just below the sunlit surface, there exists a mysterious and elusive layer that once baffled sailors and scientists. Early sonar crews would get a reading of the seabed during the day, only to find that this bottom would rise by hundreds of feet as night fell. They called it the deep scattering layer, a phantom floor that moved with the setting and rising of the sun. We now know this is no ghost, but the largest migration on our planet. It is a dense, living cloud of billions of small fish, squid, and crustaceans that ascend every evening from the dark safety of the depths to feed in the plankton-rich surface waters, and then descend back into the blackness before dawn to hide from predators. This daily, synchronized vertical movement is a silent, rhythmic pulse, the deep, slow breath of the ocean itself. Fact 9. There is a creature that lives in the oxygen-starved depths named, in Latin, Vampiroteuthis infernalis, the vampire squid from hell. Yet, this name is a dramatic misnomer. Far from being a terrifying predator, the vampire squid is a gentle and passive survivor. It is a living relic, the last of its kind, with features of both squid and octopuses. Its body is a cloak of velvety black skin, and its eyes, proportionally the largest of any animal, are a beautiful, deep blue. When threatened, it does not release a cloud of dark ink. Instead, it pulls its webbed arms up and over its body, turning itself inside out to reveal rows of soft, fleshy spines, and ejects a cloud of sticky, bioluminescent mucus. This glittering cloud of light can confuse a predator for minutes, a precious time for the squid to vanish into the darkness. It is not a hunter of blood, but a delicate collector of marine snow, using two long, retractable filaments to gather the gentle rain of particles from the world above. Fact 10. The deep sea is a land of giants, a phenomenon known as abyssal gigantism. In the cold, high-pressure environment, many invertebrate species grow to sizes far exceeding their shallow water relatives. Consider the giant isopod, a creature that looks like a common woodlouse but can grow to the size of a house cat, or the Japanese spider crab, whose spindly legs can span over 12 feet from claw to claw. The reasons for this gigantism are thought to be a combination of factors. The near-freezing temperatures slow down metabolism, allowing for longer lifespans and more time to grow. The scarcity of food also favors larger body sizes, which are more efficient at storing energy and traveling long distances between meals. These colossal, slow-moving animals are the quiet kings of a dark kingdom, a world where the usual rules of biology are stretched to magnificent proportions. Fact 11. Perhaps the most legendary example of this gigantism is the giant squid, Architeuthis dux. For centuries, it was a creature of myth, a kraken that existed only in sailors' tales and the occasional carcass washed ashore. It is an animal of almost unbelievable scale, with the largest eyes in the entire animal kingdom, each one the size of a dinner plate. These massive orbs are not for seeing in bright light, but are exquisitely designed to capture the faintest glimmers of bioluminescence in the abyss, the telltale flashes of its prey or the approach of its only known predator, the sperm whale. For years, no human had seen one alive in its natural habitat. It was a true ghost of the deep until 2012, when a team of scientists finally captured the first ever footage of this majestic sovereign of the depths, a shimmering, intelligent being of immense size and grace, finally confirming the legend was real. Fact 12. The water of the deep ocean is profoundly and consistently cold, hovering just a few degrees above freezing, typically between 2 and 4 degrees Celsius. This permanent chill acts as a great preserver and a great slower of life. The cold water holds more dissolved oxygen than warm water, but it dramatically reduces the metabolic rate of the creatures that live there. As a result, life in the deep moves in a kind of dreamlike slow motion. Fish move with a placid grace, growth is incredibly slow, and lifespans are stretched to extraordinary lengths. A prime example is the Greenland shark, an inhabitant of the deep Arctic and North Atlantic waters, which has been found to live for more than 400 years, making it the longest living vertebrate known to science. It is a world where time itself seems to slow down, where centuries can pass in the quiet, cold darkness. Fact 13. While fiery hydrothermal vents are born from volcanic heat, the deep sea floor is also home to their quiet, gentle cousins, cold seeps. These are areas where chemical-rich fluids, primarily methane and hydrogen sulfide, percolate slowly up from sediments in the ocean floor. Unlike the violent, superheated eruptions of black smokers, the fluid from a cold seep is the same near-freezing temperature as the surrounding seawater. Yet, just like at the vents, these chemicals provide the energy for chemosynthetic bacteria to thrive, forming the base of a unique and vibrant ecosystem. These seep communities are often dominated by vast fields of mussels, which house the chemosynthetic bacteria within their gills. Because the energy source is slow and steady, life at cold seeps is often much more stable and longer-lived than at the more volatile vents, with some tube worms living for over 250 years. They are patient, ancient oases, built upon a slow chemical whisper from below. Fact 14. Though we imagine the deep as a place of absolute silence, it is filled with a rich and mysterious soundscape. Sound travels more than 4 times faster in water than in air, and low-frequency sounds can propagate for thousands of miles with little loss of energy. The deep ocean is filled with the constant, low rumbles of distant underwater earthquakes and the volcanic activity of the mid-ocean ridges. It carries the powerful, haunting songs of baleen whales, calls that can cross entire ocean basins, allowing them to communicate over unimaginable distances. In 1997, hydrophones detected a powerful, ultra-low frequency sound, nicknamed the bloop, which was louder than any known animal noise and whose origin remains a topic of gentle debate, though it was likely the sound of a massive icequake from a cracking glacier. This deep, resonant world of sound is the true symphony of the planet's hidden heart. Fact 15. To perceive the faintest traces of light in a world of near-total blackness, the eyes of deep-sea creatures have evolved into strange and wonderful forms. Many fish, like the spookfish, have developed enormous, tubular eyes that are permanently fixed looking upwards. They act like twin telescopes, designed to catch the faint silhouettes of prey passing overhead against the barely perceptible glow of the far-distant surface. The barrel-eye fish takes this a step further. Its tubular eyes are housed inside a completely transparent, fluid-filled dome that makes up its head, allowing the fish to rotate its lenses to look straight ahead or directly up. The retinas of these eyes are packed almost exclusively with light-sensitive rod cells and have few or no cone cells, which detect color. This means that for most inhabitants of the deep, their world is a beautiful and complex tapestry of monochrome light and shadow. Fact 16. When one of the great whales dies, its journey is not over. Its massive body, weighing many tons, begins a slow, final descent to the bottom of the ocean. This event, known as a whale fall, is a monumental gift to the deep-sea ecosystem. It creates a sudden, concentrated oasis of food in the otherwise nutrient-poor abyss, capable of sustaining a complex community of creatures for up to a century. The process unfolds in predictable stages. First, mobile scavengers like sleeper sharks and slimy, eel-like hagfish arrive to strip the carcass of its soft tissue. Then, a host of smaller creatures, from crabs to worms, colonize the skeleton, feeding on the remaining scraps. Finally, for decades, specialized bacteria digest the lipids within the whale's bones, producing sulfur compounds that in turn support a chemosynthetic community similar to that of a cold seep. It is a final, profound act of giving, a single life that nourishes a deep-sea world for generations. Fact 17. The crushing pressure of the deep sea poses a fundamental challenge to the very molecules of life. High pressure can deform and destroy the delicate, three-dimensional shapes of proteins and enzymes, which must be folded perfectly to function. To counteract this, deep-sea organisms have evolved a remarkable molecular defense. Within their cells, they accumulate high concentrations of small organic molecules called piezolites, a word which means pressure solutes. The most important of these is trimethylamine N-oxide, or TMAO. These molecules act as a kind of internal, molecular scaffolding. They stabilize the water structure around proteins, providing a protective cushion that helps them maintain their proper shape and function, even under hundreds of atmospheres of pressure. It is an invisible but essential adaptation, a quiet, clever solution that allows the intricate machinery of life to operate flawlessly in one of the most hostile environments on Earth.